Hello there. I'm seeing lots of questions. If you would like to tag your name and your question so that I can address you to the audience, please feel free to do so. We have a question from our live feed. They would like to know what is your favorite part of your job here on Nautilus?
I mean, definitely the work itself, just the exploration, and recently we were talking a couple watches ago, maybe a couple of cruises ago about the, yeah, this was definitely a few cruises ago. I used to kind of think of it as like you go down and no one's ever seen this before, right? But then I kind of was reframing it, and the other people on watch, we were talking about how there's also, because of how infrequent some of this, this work is, and you're trying to cover new ground anytime you do more, is that no one will ever see this again. So it's kind of like, it's the first time it's being seen, but then it also is likely that it'll never be seen again. So we were seeing these, hundreds of year old sponges, 500 years old or whatever. And it's like, or even older. And then you see them, and that's the only instance in their life that you'll have, they'll first of all see light, but also that we'll see them and then probably won't see them again.
I think I mean, it's different from the other jobs I do during the year because we get to have this collaboration of all these different scientists and ROV pilots and navigators who are these experts in their field. And while you're doing your job, you're learning so much from everyone. It's like a constant learning experience. And then the Nautilus does a ton of focus on education and outreach. So you also have interns coming in, you're teaching them, or you're going and talking to a school. So it's just a constant learning environment, and I think that's really pretty special.
For me as an educator, I get to actually show the students a real life view of what we are teaching the kids in the curriculum. So kind of like walk it like you talk it. So if I'm telling them about the ocean and they're learning about salt water and organisms and food chains, what better way to teach them these things than to see it firsthand, which is an amazing experience. So I'm loving it here.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Rennie, how many years have you been doing this?
Me?
Yeah.
Ocean work I started in 2013.
Oh, wow.
So this is my
6th year?
7th season,
7th season.
right? That's how that works, right? But before that, I was doing some more land-based remote field work. But not many years before that, only a couple years
Yeah.
before that, so.
I guess that's the other cool thing is you get people from all different backgrounds coming together as well.
Yeah, it's really cool to see how people got here and also to learn a bit about them, and always like really super impressive rising stars coming through, you know, from the science road to people coming in the engineering, video, the SCFs as well, like a lot of really cool careers and career paths to get here.
You're definitely not bored when you talk to someone.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
It's like one interesting story to the next.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I guess something about this type of work draws people to it who kind of do a lot of adventuring and whatnot.
Another question from the audience is, what's the best sea creature or sea plant you've seen recently?
The best sea
I was pretty
creature.
amazed by that.
That tumbleweed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
really cool.
That was really, really cool.
And beautiful.
I already forget. It's not what's it
It's
called?
not a tumbleweed.
Pom-pom
Pom-pom
anemone.
anemone. The pom-pom
Oh,
anemone.
it's got a great name though too. Pom Pom.
Just so used to seeing stationary anemones, it was kind of.
It's just back there giggling.
Yeah.
I still really liked that bristleworm we saw with the
gold.
the golden copper
That was just
shiny bristles.
Such a shame it was just rolling
You don't really
down.
see
We didn't
metallic.
get much time with it.
Yeah.
Metallic creatures
I
very
like
often.
that one.
I wonder how you create that.
Why would it be so sparkly? Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I was drinking some tea, so I had my microphone up.
Where'd you go?
I mean, it was like, why would something so sparkly be of use? What down here where there's no light?
Right. Yeah.
Why would something?
Seems like a lot of energy to expand them.
Yeah. Even just producing the angles that when it hits light, which it never should hit light.
Well, there's a little bit of light
I
from
think we're good.
bioluminescence and that type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, I wonder if it has a purpose or if it just evolved upslope and came back down. Never lost the color.
Nope, all set.
Maybe, yeah.
Let's go into the bridge.
I figure we answered that one. Bobby from Burbank has heard Nautilus is getting a new engine for the next season. He's curious to know how do you all think it's going to go, and are you going to miss the sound of the old engine?
Is the question, are we going to miss the sound of the old engine?
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes it helps you go to sleep at night.
Well,
in
so
science
there's a
compartments.
debate as to whether the main There's definitely vibration and sound from Thor. That's very Thor specific. But then there's also vibration and sound that's from the shaft.
Yeah.
And the shaft is not being replaced. So we will learn once and for all what is shaft produced and what is Thor produced.
Yeah.
What's the ship's heading?
330.
We are ascending, headed back to the ship. This expedition is coming to a close. But if you check out nautiluslab.org, it has all of the expeditions for the season, and it also shows you the date for the upcoming expedition, which I believe is on October the 13th. Welcome, Brian. Brian would like to know, how do you feel your day when you're not on shift? I know myself, I've been doing lots of interactions. Would anyone else like to share? What do you do when you're not on your shift?
I think about how I should go to the gym and work out.
Yeah, I was just going to say we go to the gym.
Oh, I think
Gym,
about it.
food, sleep,
Gym, food,
second
sleep.
sleep,
Yeah.
work on the vehicles, or launch and recovery. You know, oftentimes we have 2 shifts on for a launch or recovery. So one shift is actually on shift and the other one is off shift, but working nonetheless.
Get some time to sit out in the sun or watch the stars if you want.
Nah.
Usually cuts into sleep though.
Data doesn't have time for that kind of stuff. We sample, process, and type up all the metadata from the dive in our free time.
Yeah, we
and
haven't been doing
sleep.
much mapping, so I've had a little bit of extra
Amy's
time.
like calling you out over there.
You
She's like,
you
"Rennie's
guys
looking
also
at the
pick out all
stars and
the
I'm doing
sample
work."
photos.
Yeah, that's part of our metadata, yeah.
Yes.
So we do a lot associated with the samples.
And highlights.
The SCFs do the highlights.
Okay.
I've been making a bunch of maps, okay, for previous cruises, upcoming tasks. Making
It's
one
not
for
like a
American Samoa
competition.
right now. Well, Jamie just attacked me a little bit, so I felt like I had to come back a little.
Rennie, you have the stick of pointing. You always win.
Yeah, it is back there. Safe.
Oh, that's just cruel.
We were just remembering, Jamie and I were on both of our first cruises on Nautilus was the same one.
Really?
NA030 back in 2013.
It was both of your first ones.
And now we're at 116.
Yoink.
Oh man, just ruthless. This is because of the gummy bear thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you even have anything to point at?
Yes, I pointed at a piece of marine snow that was, and a jelly. I pointed at that jelly. Did you see it? In Argus
Jellyfish.
view?
No. If only I had a stick to point at it.
There it goes again.
Are you pointing at it still?
I'm really good at pointing.
Wait.
I bet.
It's fast, but I'm faster.
I've created a monster back here. She's.
Hey.
Are you done with the stick? Can I give it back to Rennie?
No.
back.
Oh, okay.
I don't really need it. Don't really need it anymore. Greg, were you on the first cruise? Nautilus 001? NA001? Was it even named that back then?
Back in the day.
I think so. Well, yeah. I think that they might have done something really short with the Nautilus in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
but 2010 was like the first official year. I
Yeah.
looked at they have the list of cruises that you've
Yeah,
been on
I saw that.
now,
Yeah.
and it doesn't go back to when I started.
There was some that it missed. And then it was funny, I was reading one, I was like, I wasn't on that one. And then I looked back in my notes, I was like, yeah, I was on that cruise. I was like, this is wrong. It turns out it was just a different number. The cruise was renamed mid-cruise or something like that. Just 'cause it was two very different objectives.
Who's been on the most cruises?
I actually was part of coming up with the naming convention.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Probably Rennie.
Mark?
I've slowed. Well, Mark
Oh,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
In the van now, I've been on 42 Nautilus cruises.
Wow.
I don't know. How many have you been on, Greg?
I don't know. I stopped counting.
Yeah.
42.
Some were short, like this one's only a week. Sometimes the longest was like 3.5 or close to 4 or something like that.
4 weeks?
Yeah.
Where were you? In the Mediterranean?
Well, the 3.5 one, or the remote, the Samoa to Honolulu, that was about
Baker
3.5
Island.
weeks.
Oh, yeah, that would take a long time.
Yeah.
Because that's like 9 or 10 days transit alone, and then we did
I would
dives
slow
in there
down.
too.
I'm not going to catch up.
Jamie, how many cruises have you been on?
I haven't counted, but not as many as Rennie.
Oh.
Mark's been on all of them, except for a couple transits where we didn't have we weren't doing ROV ops. So Mark's been on 116, or about 110. He did miss a couple one season, so maybe at least 100 Mark's been on for Nautilus, and then who knows before that how many cruises he's been on.
The accommodations on the ship are really nice. They have a really great crew that keeps the ship nice and clean. They prepare delicious foods. Everyone is really kind. You need anything, there's always someone to ask. So they're very accommodating and happy to be here. We have another question about the Nautilus. They're wondering, do we sample studies only with corals and sponges, or do you also sample marine life as well?
Coral and sponges are marine life, but we have a wide variety of goals depending on the particular group of scientists in the particular region that we're exploring. Some cruises might be more geology focused, others might be more water chemistry focused, hydrothermal vent focused. Some scientists might be particularly interested in observing fish, though we don't do a lot of fish sampling. They're usually pretty hard to catch.
Yeah.
But yeah, there can be a wide array of interests aside from coral and sponges. Just depends on who's involved and where the particular area is.
Great question, James from Florida. Thank you for tuning in. We have a question from one of our viewers. They just tuned in and would like to know, what is the coolest thing you've seen this week?
We saw quite a few octopus, which I thought that was pretty cool. I think
Agreed.
the amount that there were.
I
That
like
was
the
kinda cool.
pom-pom anemone tumbleweed
Right.
and the bristleworm.
A lot of
The
interesting coral.
the fly trap anemone. I thought that was cool. I've never seen that
Mm-hmm.
before.
Then we agreed it was the Venus flytrap-like anemone.
Shaped.
Shaped anemone.
Right. Yeah.
I'm curious to see if there is one single species that's called that.
There is.
And then,
Well, yeah,
but the other ones look
I've
like.
looked it up since then, and
Right.
it looks like what we always think of it as. So I don't know if that person was just incorrect or if just everybody's incorrect.
This angry scientists. Gotta have something to be angry about.
It's always a competition with us
Right.
scientists.
Right. Wasn't it, was it Basket Stars? Something that, like, even very recently in the past year or so, 2 years, that someone was saying everything was misclassified. So now it's something else. So every time we say Basket Star or Brittle Star, I forget which it was like, no, that's likely to be wrong.
Great.
But no, it was Basket Star and Brisingid.
What about them? They're not in the groups that they think they are?
I think it's Basket Star is not. No, I can't remember it. Just was corrected so many times about this thing. Now I gotta look it up.
Biologist Rennie has gone away for a while. Jellyfish. Go, video, go. Oh, it's gone.
Wow.
So, Rennie, I think it's probably a brittle star versus a Brisingid.
Okay, that could be it.
Yeah. They're both sea stars.
But it was something about a very recent reclassification of something. I want to say it was from PMEL, and it was on the Cascadia cruises that I heard this.
So, starfish and brittle star are exclusively marine echinoderms. The key difference between starfish and brittle star. But that is not the question I asked you, Google. Brisingid. Yeah, it's just a different type of sea star. So I think brittle star is the more common name, just kind of a more general classification. And Bersingid is more of a family name.
So brittle stars are ophiuroids and Bersingids are not?
The order is Bersingidae.
Right. But the class
Asteroideae is both brittle stars and Bersingids.
Oh, but it says brittle stars is ophiuroid, not
Oh.
asteroidea.
Yeah, so I think that means
They have the same subphylum,
Bersingid
but
and sea stars are in the same group, and brittle stars and sea stars, or brittle stars and Bersingids are not.
Something, yeah.
I
in
know
the
they're
same
all
group.
echinoderms.
Right, that's about what we
Yeah, so it looks
yeah,
like
basket star.
Basket stars and brittle stars are ophiuroids.
So basket stars and brittle stars are related, and Bersingids and sea stars are related, I think is what we just decided.
Yep.
Correct. They're different orders and different classes, but they're all in the phylum Echinoderms.
But that doesn't answer the question of when there was a change about. It may have been an individual organism that we were looking at, and someone said, "Oh, this is that," but it's actually something that looks like a basket star, but actually it's something else.
Well, Bersingids, sometimes when they're curled up,
Yeah.
they look like a very nice basket.
It was on the genetic level that there was a.
Oh.
It wasn't like a identification. It was a genetic discovery.
Oh, that's a great shot. Oh. You got a really great earlier shot of the scrubbing bubble jellies.
Wrong one.
What is that?
A ctenophore.
Boy, Jamie left with a vengeance.
I think the wind caught the door. Uh-oh. Here she's back.
She's coming back to apologize.
she's coming back for her stick, her pointer.
Debating about if I'm going to hit the field goal or not.
Mike. We have Mike from Dallas, Texas. He would like to know if have you had any scares or malfunctions with Argus?
Maybe not. A couple that I can think of I don't want to say.
Okay,
But
sorry.
Yes, we have had both malfunctions and scares with both vehicles.
yeah.
Even on this cruise, we had a twist in the tether between a Herc and Argus, which is full of fiber and high voltage. So you can't pull on it too much to get the twist out because you could break the fibers.
Especially if they're twisted.
So there's always something.
Yeah, and
That's
if
one
you
of the
lose the fiber optics, you're losing the visual on the vehicles.
Yeah, there's always something. You know, it's really hard to train someone to scan all of the different cameras.
Yeah, especially when they first come out. It's like a lot of, it's kind of like information overload.
And as much as I can work with someone to say, you know, this is kind of how I scan through the room, they will determine what way works best for them.
Right.
But
I've seen some people are very robotic. Just looking through all. But.
Oh, that's one of those weird squids. It's gone.
It's an Argus view.
Maybe if we lean over, we'll be able
Yeah,
to
I know, right?
peek through. There's the scary, well, from my perspective, some of the scarier stuff is just being aware of where Argus is, both altitude off the seafloor and with approaching cliffs, stuff like that.
Yeah, especially if there's a layback.
Yeah.
Right? You know, that means the ship is past the cliff, Argus is still behind the cliff, and below the edge of the cliff. You know, there's a lot of difficulty there.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot that could go wrong.
No touching. You don't want the vehicles to touch each other, or the ship, or the seafloor. Well,
Yep.
Herc can touch the seafloor.
We kind of
Gently.
operate on the same principles as kindergarten. No touching.
No touching. No touching. So then you figure there's also
stay within the lines.
Yeah. There's also the heave of the ship. So that brings, if you get significant heave at the surface, that's all being loaded down the cable, and Argus. That's one of the reasons we have Argus, is to decouple the ship's motion for Hercules to operate freely. But then you really have to watch the sub-bottom, or the altitude on Argus, to make sure it's not getting too close to the seafloor.
Yeah.
And also the scanning sonars to make sure it's not too close to
Oh man, I remember looking down in Argus and seeing the disturbance on the seafloor from the heaves.
The waves, yeah.
Right, so that's like you were close enough that one of the falling heaves, and just like that up and down, was just stirring up sediment on the seafloor. That was recent.
One of the instances was recent, yes. Yeah, look, it's all the way back down.
Yeah.
That'd be cool to see that trend over time according to depth. See, like now, if we got a peak of 14,000 pounds,
Right,
it would
then
be
it's something's crazy going on.
yeah, crazy heave or something.
All right, half an hour to 50 meters.
Oh, I got stuff to do at 500 meters. Video, can you change bridge TV to cam aft?
Done.
Thanks.
I can
There's
do
I have a
that
button
too.
over here, but
Yeah.
Greg's water bottle's in the way. I figure you weren't busy over there.
I'm very busy. I'm doing very important things over here. I was trying to zoom in on things.
And my deck radio is on. I think we'll stay at this heading for recovery.
Yeah, so it seems like.
Seems pretty good. You want to stream a bit from 300 to surface? We got about a 0.7 knot current. I haven't seen too much significant counter currents in this
Yeah.
region.
I'm not expecting a counter current, but there is a slight current because it's hard for me to hold
Right.
opposite 330.
Yeah, it's up to you. We could stream forward, usually around 300.
Yeah, I don't know what that larval fish is, but it's pretty cute. Oh, there's some more.
Or if you're fine at 3, we could just do it for like 200 meters or so. But they'll be
They
setting
kind
up
of look
too,
like tiny miniature hake,
so some time.
but I don't.
Seems
I don't
pretty
know.
calm.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll let you know if I make progress here within the next 100 meters or so. We'll be here.
I hope so. If I see you down there, you guys down there.
So Magda, what's your favorite thing that you saw this week?
Oh wow. There's so many incredible things that we've seen so far. I certainly enjoyed learning more about deep sea corals. Yeah, but I think one of the coolest things that we did see was a really large lingcod eating a hake.
Oh, you got one eating a hake. Nice.
Yeah, like that.
We had a rockfish getting eaten.
Oh, yeah, and it's incredible. Like it reminded me of like in Florida. I did like fishery surveys, and we'd have largemouth bass. We'd study like largemouth bass and snook, and they're both popular sport fish, and they get pretty big. And there's always like this weird competition between the bass team and the snook team, until the bass team found a bass with a snook in it, and and that was pretty much it. Like the bass team won, but it kind of reminded me of that the lingcod, the mouth and the shape and the way it would just like went for it, like just went and
Engulf,
grabbed the
yeah.
hake. It was pretty incredible, and I don't know if we caught it all on camera because it happened so quickly, but yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things to see, like animal behaviors. And I just think like the corals that we've been seeing are pretty incredible.
I'm looking up snook.
Oh.
Those are huge
Yeah,
fish.
they can get pretty big.
Oh my goodness.
So it's,
It's an East Coast fish then, right?
yeah, they're
Uh-huh.
very popular in Florida. They're very popular sport
Oh,
fish.
that makes sense, yeah. Wow. They're huge. They're like salmon out here.
Almost. Well, I'm not familiar with how big salmon get.
Yeah, salmon can get, I'm looking at people
Snook-
holding
snook
up their
get pretty
snook.
big,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think salmon, especially if you think of what king salmon are extinct, aren't they?
No,
No,
they're
they're
still
not.
in Alaska, I think, like in
Yeah.
Copper River.
No, no. So
Copper
there's-
River
there's
salmon is
no
a separate kind of
Copper
salmon.
River
than-
salmon or
than-
sockeye salmon. There's several runs of kings that are still in existence, and there's some down in Washington State as well, but they're
Yeah.
starting
Okay.
to go extinct. So it depends
Right.
on the run. But king, they're also known as Chinook, are all over Alaska
yeah.
still. But it's like little pockets of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there are some species, it really depends on the run.
Erin's a salmon boat captain, so
Yeah.
she would know.
Yeah. That in California where they're sustainable, but some of the, like the winter runs, they're really in trouble.
Do they have salmon runs in California?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you know, should ask Erin because you have one kind of salmon in the stream versus in the ocean, and they have like different names.
Yeah.
There are 5 species of salmon, Pacific
Five.
salmon that is.
Uh-huh.
And it's pinks, which are also called humpies, silvers, which are also called coho, kings, which are also called chinook, sockeye, which are also called reds, and chum, which are also called dogs.
Oh my goodness. And
And
then
they have a sea state, and then they also have a freshwater state. So they all change their body and their color once they hit the freshwater. And most of them stop feeding completely once they hit freshwater.
Do they do their coloration? Does it get a little darker when they come into freshwater?
So it depends on the species. So if you have a sockeye, they turn this brilliant red with a green head.
Yeah.
And then if it's a humpy, their body actually develops this massive hump, especially the males. Chinook get darker, and dogs, they call them a calico dog because it gets kind of stripes. And then coho also kind of get red and green, but not quite as bright and brilliant as the sockeye.
Wow.
is that a squid?
Yep.
Yep.
Argus cam.
Yeah.
So Erin, do you know about the status, the federal status of which runs are endangered and which ones are threatened and which ones are actually fish?
Yes.
Because there's like a commercial fishery in California, and I'm not
so
quite certain which one
there
that
are
is.
still commercial fisheries in California, and I think Oregon still has some, and Washington has some as well. But in Washington state, at least, most the commercial fisheries are native commercial fisheries. I don't know California's very well. I know Washington and Alaska's.
So if I get a Copper River salmon in
So
my local store,
so Copper
is
River
that
salmon-
sustainable?
Yeah, Copper River salmon, that's from the Cordova region in Prince William Sound. It's named after the Copper River, and that's where the salmon are actually headed towards. That's their natal streams. It is considered a sustainable run. The most sustainable in Alaska is Bristol Bay, though, and that's the largest run. It makes up 45% of the sockeye salmon in the world's market.
So is Copper
Wow.
River a Chinook or sockeye?
That's a sockeye.
That's a sockeye. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's so many different names for basically the same species, right?
I mean, each species has a couple different names. A lot of it is that they're also native names for the different species. And then most species, they're commonly known by 2 different names.
For freshwater versus saltwater?
No, just general, 2 different names. Yeah. When we're little, we learn, there's like a hand thing you can learn, and each fish is represented by a different finger. So like it's chum, thumb, and king is chinook because it's the biggest finger. It's your middle finger. And then your pointer finger is sockeye because you sock 'em in the eye. And then your ring finger is silver, which is coho, and then pinks, which is your pinky, or
Oh.
humpies. So it's when you're little, you learn.
Oh,
the
that's
whole
so
thing.
good.
That's a nice way to remember them. Remember all the 5.
Yeah.
What do you think? You want forward way?
I think we're going to be pretty good.
I think we're fine as long as we don't have anything funny happening between 100 and 30.
Yeah, put in a little forward way.
I know, I like
Doesn't-
gambling too. It doesn't hurt, no.
We're probably
It could be a
fine.
true field goal.
It's
No ship
true.
assist.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure.
It's really super calm out there too. So.
I think we'll be fine, especially with the current, the way it
Yeah.
is at the surface.
I think so. That's dragging you back half an hour. Go ahead. Okay, thank you.
There are, you're right in the fact
It's
that
our
there are
time.
Chinook runs, king runs, that are completely gone now. And that's one of the species that is doing quite poorly
Yeah.
in most
Bridge now.
areas. Especially in the lower 48.
We've got about
they're-
10 minutes till we're at 50
Do they still get to the
meters.
same size though?
Um,
No,
like
they
this
don't. They used to
to have
get
the captain
giant,
on
but
the
a lot
edge.
of it's damming of the rivers
Thank you.
and stuff like that. They're not able to reach those areas, or they're getting fished. I mean, it takes a long time to get that big.
Yeah.
But they used to be a lot bigger. You'd see them a
Yeah,
lot more.
you see there are black and white pictures of people with these fish that are 6 to 8 feet tall. You know, they're massive, massive fish.
It's definitely the species that, at least I think, is probably out of the 5 is doing the worst.
Which one is that?
That's kings or
King
Chinooks.
Chinook. I know Washington State has a lot of programs in place to restore salmon runs and like
Remove
any
dams,
obstacles
yeah.
and dams.
It's
Yeah.
dams
like
and
the
then
Elwha
salmon,
Dam.
That one was removed a couple years ago.
Mhm.
And then the big one too is Washington State's phasing out fish farming.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's very interesting. A lot of it came about because one of the orca pods, they lost a calf, and the mom held it above the water
Oh,
for like
yeah.
10 days in a row.
Right.
And
Mhm.
it's a species, or not species, it's a pod that specifically preys on Chinook salmon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
was kind of a big, like,
And they're endangered now.
yeah.
That population.
Yeah, it was
It's only-
definitely a big, like, salmon aren't the most, like, attractive animal to people. They aren't really a big charismatic species that people really want to save. So
They're
when it hit-
ugly.
when it hit the, I think they're really pretty, Remy.
Yeah. They're,
So when it hit
They're
the
really
orca
cool, yeah.
population,
They are
though,
cool.
suddenly you had this face that people really wanted to save. I think that was pretty key.
yeah.
So hopefully that they can do stuff.
Yeah. Southern resident killer whales. That's the population.
Yep.
I learned recently that there are killer whales in the Gulf of Mexico.